We'll get into that here in just a minute. Now joined by threat management expert Spencer Coursen. He's the founder of Coursen Security Group and the author of the upcoming book, The Safety Trap, a security expert's secrets for staying safe in a dangerous world. It's coming out in May. Make sure you pick it up. Spencer, thanks for coming on the program.
My pleasure, Stu. Great to be with you.
Thanks. I want to start with the question I think every dolt like me has that looks at this stuff today. There's a giant rally going on. People are very excited. They're very frustrated. The Capitol building's within walking distance. Why do they not seem to be at all prepared for something bad to happen?
Well, I think what you're going to see is that a lot of legislators who were, forced to shelter in place today, who were scared, who were worried about, the rioters who were outside the door, are going to go home tonight and come to a stark realization that, how they believe they were being protected is not at all in line with the protections that were being provided. And some of them might realize, oh, this is what it's like to be a second grader in school and, have to worry about the threat outside the door. And then also come to that realization that the people who are supposed to keep you protected are actually not really good at preventing an incident from happening. All of their training, all of their gear, all of their tech is about reacting to a problem. They're really, really good at responding to crisis, but we're really, really bad at preventing one. And what I'm really hoping that this disparity, this pendulum that keeps swinging from nothing's going to happen to hypervigilance and overprotection is that, maybe we can now finally get the resources we need to come to the realization that being really good at preventing something or getting really good at responding to a threat is not the same as preventing a threat.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think we all kind of, I know your background, you've managed massive events around the country before. You've done all this stuff before. And, we come in a post 9/11 era where you think we would be on alert for this stuff, especially for Congress. We had a mass shooting at a softball game not that long ago. Mm-hmm. It's a little scary to think. I mean, luckily there wasn't, a mass, casualty event type of thing that happened today, obviously. But, there seems to be massive vulnerabilities here that have not been addressed so far.
There's massive vulnerabilities. And one of the things that my book goes into is the safety traps that sort of allow these allowances to occur. And one of them is the safety trap of expectation. If you had gone up to anyone on the street today and said, hey, what do you think the chances are of these protesters actually breaching the Capitol building? They'd have been like, the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., yeah. in America, not going to happen.
Zero.
And yet it happened with such ease. There was actually a warning that it was going to happen. And they literally walked right in with no opposition whatsoever because there was this expectation that with the guards and the guns and the cameras that there's no way this could happen. And what they realized was that, oh, it's just window dressing. This could have happened by anyone to anyone. Imagine if this had been an armed revolt. Imagine if this wasn't a protest, but this was an actual attempt at a coup. What kind of a position we would be in right now, because we had this expectation that we were safe when actually we were insanely vulnerable.
Yeah, there's those moments today watching TV. It felt like I was in that really chaotic part of Valkyrie where everyone's scrambling around trying to figure out who's in control. If this was a real attempt to take over the Capitol and not just largely a bunch of weird internet personalities doing it, this could have worked out a lot differently. Someone had a meme today where it was the end of V for Vendetta, where everyone in the Guy Pearce mask is just walking past all the armed security, and they're just well, okay. It's and I think the realization is that there's this over reliance that we're all of the gear and the training and the tech that goes into responding to this threat. You're coming at it from a mindset, okay, I'm coming here to address this problem. But, training is not the same as being tested. And so when you have this complacency where you have the safeguards that are in place and they've worked effectively for you every day that you've been there and they've always worked, when everything is going really well, there's this expectation that they're going to work really well the same way in a crisis. And the reality is there's a wide divide between policy and practice. And we have this expectation that our
our practices will elevate in the face of crisis when actually they falter to the lowest level of applied practice.
My eyes have been opened wide on this one over the past year or so, because you go back to the summer, you have kind of the BLM protests and all that stuff that's going on.
Right.
And I was just fascinated. I mean, I get pulled over every time I go 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, and there's people tearing down statues, there's people lighting targets and auto zones on fire all over the country. I mean, we were at a point where police officers were exiting police precincts so that people who were marching could burn them to the ground. Are we just so wildly unprepared and just living in this world where we think our societal norms will protect us? What is going on?
Well, part of it is mindset. We have for so long lived in a world where we simply hoped that nothing would happen and then solely relied on the first responders to save us when something does. And now that we are being challenged, now that those defenses are being probed, what we are realizing is that, the first responders aren't really good at responding. The first responders are really good at calling in the reinforcements who can come in and help clean up this mess. But they're kind of just like the security theater window dressing deterrent factor that, if challenged, blows over quite easily. And then the National Guard or the SWAT teams or whoever, is actually trained on the reactionary measure comes in to save the day.
I know you wrote about this kind of conceptually in your book. I mean, should we be thinking of ourselves as the first responders? I mean, we need to be prepared.
Everyday
right?
Safety requires the participation of everyone. We can no longer, one of the things I express in the book is that the number one risk, or most of us will live the rest of our lives, free from harm. Mm-hmm. But the number one way to stay safe is to employ a healthy sense of skepticism and a moderate dose of vigilance. And just in your own essence, understand that you are your own first responder, that you are your own authority. You are the best source of protection to keep you and your family safe should an emergency arise.
Now, I know what my answer is on this. When you're talking about if you're going to a rally that might turn into an event like this, my answer is always to not go because I don't like walking. But if you are the type of person who's going to this and you realize something's getting out of control, what is the right thing to do? Do you just bolt and get yourself the hell away from there?
So even if you're going to like a movie theater or a sporting event, like it's great to go to the event, but like maybe sit on an aisle, maybe get as close to the exit as you can. Maybe I love these threat guys who are like, here's 15 ways to use your belt loop to like keep this door shut. And there's a window right behind them that they could easily escape out of. It's like, so sometimes just like, one of the methodologies I have always employed is awareness plus preparation equals safety. If you just operate under that basic framework, hey, listen, I'm aware that something could happen. And if something were to happen, this is where I would go. Right. So that way you're mentally prepared for the physical activity that your body will incur. You reduce your level of anxiety. You reduce your level of risk. You're able to enjoy the event, which very likely nothing is going to occur. But if it does, you're mentally and physically prepared for the events that will keep you safe. At the end of the day, it's all about reducing risk and preventing violence and ensuring the certainty of safety for everyone involved. And that safety begins with you, the individual.
Well, I know I will never be mentally prepared for physical activity, but I'll take your word for it. Spencer Coursen, threat management expert, founder of the Coursen Security Group, and author of the upcoming book, The Safety Trap, Security Experts' Secrets for Staying Safe in a Dangerous World, coming out in May. Spencer, thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you, sir.
All right, back in a second.